Hello, everybody. Today I want to quickly go over Chapter 5. So what we will do, Chapter 5 is the last chapter we will cover in this course. And instead of going over each um, grammar lesson individually, I'll just do a quick overview of the chapter. So if we pull up our v-text here and wait for it to load, select Chapter 5. So chapter 5 is about las vacaciones, obviously vacation. Something to keep in mind is that your upcoming composition will combine topics from chapter 4, el fin de semana, the weekend, and chapter 5, las vacaciones. So what both of those chapters have in common is just sort of like an emphasis on like fun, leisure things. There's a lot of vocabulary in this chapter. You can see talk about vacations, describe a hotel, talking about the weather, the season, talking about how you feel. There's a lot more vocabulary in this chapter than we're used to in other ones. It talks about, if you look over here, you can see the months, so we can express dates now. We're going to see the seasons. We're going to talk, you can learn dates. These are called ordinal numbers, so they're different from what we say is cardinal numbers. Cardinal numbers are like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ordinal numbers put things in order, so they're things like first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. After 10, they're fairly rare in Spanish. People don't typically say 20th. The 20th floor, they would just say floor 20 and use an ordinal or a cardinal number. So I'll leave this to you to look over. Note that vacaciones is vacation. Spanish typically pluralizes it, whereas English typically makes it singular. To talk about the weather, the question you ask is ¿Qué tiempo hace? And to answer that question, you typically say hace plus something. For example, hace calor, it's hot. Hace frío, it's cold. Hace viento, it's windy. And then down here, you'll see that some of these are just standalone expressions, like llueve means it's raining, or nieva means it's snowing. So yeah, here's some words related to hotels, traveling, passports, going through customs. Over here, we see some activities. Note that these are a lot of these are using ir that we saw in the last chapter to go on vacation, to go on a bus, to go in a taxi. So you would conjugate ir, voy, vas, va, vamos, van, plus these expressions if you want to do these things. Okay. All right. So, and there's some practice with that. B's and V's in Spanish are typically both pronounced like B. So most Spanish speakers would say bueno, voleibol, biblioteca, vivir. They would call the name of our book Biba. So just pay attention to that. Most Spanish speakers are not going to distinguish v from ba. Everything is a ba sound, typically. In the fotonovela, it looks like the kids are going to the playa. They're going to the beach. Wonder what kind of shenanigans they will get up to. Fun fact, a little trivia for you. Maite was a character on the previous incarnation of the fotonovela. Every few years they update it with like younger people and put the old ones out to pasture. But I guess they brought Maite back. I think she's a newscaster now, but back when I first started, she was just one of the youngins. So there's a little telenovela trivia for you. The culture, the exploración in this chapter is talking about we're down in South America, and it's very mountainous down here. That's where the Andes Mountains are, and so they're going to talk about the Incans. The Incas are the indigenous people that populated that area, and here you see some terracing, and that's a way to farm on land that's really steep. So they sort of invented this landscaping technique for steep terrain. Okay, so in this chapter we're seeing estar. We've seen estar before, all the way back in chapter 2. For how you feel and where you are, always use the verb estar. We used it more for where you are. We used the location. Here we're using more the emotion. So when someone asks you, ¿Cómo estás? Instead of just saying, Yo estoy bien, now you can take your pick. You can say, I'm nervous, I'm happy, I'm dirty, I'm whatever, tired, whatever you want to be. Adjectives have to agree in number, and some adjectives have to agree in gender and number, just like the adjectives we saw in chapter 3. The ones we saw in chapter 3 were more like describing what people were like in general. Estar comments on a condition. There's a reason behind it. She's tired because she stayed up all night. They're ready because they're excited. Ana Maria is nervous because she's getting a check. These guys are angry because they had a fight. So if something is an emotion, there's usually a reason for it. It's affected by the environment. If it's your a trait of you, like you're tall or you're red-haired, you can't really say why. Okay, the present progressive. This is a compound tense, meaning it has two verbs. Estar is one of them, plus a gerund. If something is in progress, when is it happening? Right now. So this is a way to express things that people are doing at the moment. The biggest mistake people make is they forget to use a conjugation of estar first. So your first step is put the correct conjugation of estar for the verb. So over here I would say yo estoy, and then I would go back and go, what am I doing? If I'm doing an AR verb, such in this case, we'd probably say tomar el sol. In the real world, you could just say yo tomo el sol. That can mean I am sunbathing. But if you want to emphasize that this action is happening at the moment, use a form of estar first. So in this case, it'd be estoy. And then since tomar is an AR verb, you would turn it into